Kia ora and welcome to the Niggly Niche Cast. I am the Diggly Doodad Doc, the Papatoy Panther. Mr. Slippers is back to talk through NRL Finals footy, another round of NRL Women's footy, and we've also got a Junior Kiwis squad that has been named that I'm going to touch on to start this episode. It's just me here, as always, just talking rugby league matters. I've just narrowed it down to one rugby league niche cast episode per week because there's less games of footy, so there's less to talk about. Last week in the NRL, you had the Melbourne Storm rolling over the Parramatta Eels, and you had the Rabbitohs defeating the Manly Seagulls, so they were pretty cool results. But to be honest, there wasn't a whole lot of insight and value to offer. So I was just more excited to offer this preview and come at you ahead of this week's games, where there's a whole lot of little interesting tidbits that I do want to touch on. As I said, we're going to start with the Junior Kiwis squad that was announced, and I'll just give a bit of background on that Junior Kiwis squad. What I do every year is I write something on the nichecage.com. I just do I put together a Meet the Junior Kiwis, and that just offers the basic information for all the players who are named in the Junior Kiwis squad, which is a good resource just to use when you want to see what has happened with the Junior Kiwis, but also, what players are coming through, where they've come from, and just my job in writing about it and talking about it is to provide that information for the people so they can see where these players have come from, so they can understand the journey of rugby league players trying to crack NRL footy from Aotearoa. And it's taken a different twist this time around this year, because while all the previous years, pretty much the last 10 years, have all been under 20s games, this year we have an under 19 Junior Kiwis team taking on the Australian schoolboys, which is a bit of a weird change. I'm not a huge fan of it. I don't really see the point, but just for consistency, it would have been nice just to see under 20s continued. And I suspect there's a lot of players who aren't in this current Junior Kiwis squad who are too old, but they're under 20s still. There's a lot of really good under 20s players who aren't in this Junior Kiwis squad, which is a bummer. We don't get to see them represent the Junior Kiwis, but just got to work with what we have. Now, there was a bit of I'd suggest it's a mishap in how these squads were announced, because you had the wider squad. As always, who cares about the wider squad, because they're just clutching at straws, they're just chucking everyone in. But now that got narrowed down to a Junior Kiwis squad, which featured Spencer Leniu, who is with the Penrith Panthers. He's already played NRL footy, but he's also already represented New South Wales under 20s footy. And I talked about that when the wider squad was announced, so I was surprised to see him named in the Junior Kiwis eventual squad. But then there were a couple of unannounced changes, so I just randomly went back to the Junior Kiwis squad on the New Zealand Rugby League website, and there were changes to the squad that hadn't even been talked about. It was just a different list of players. Not a hugely different list, but a couple of ins and a couple of outs. So Spencer Leniu was eventually not named in the Junior Kiwis squad, so he is not in the Junior Kiwis squad, which makes sense because he seems pretty Australian, just judging on the teams he's made, the teams he's played for, and he seems like that feels like his natural route, so I was surprised to see him in there. And then he got taken out, which is cool, that's fine. And the other player to come out of the final Junior Kiwis squad was Matthew Tomoko, who is part of the Canberra Raiders jersey flag team, and the Canberra Raiders jersey flag team are playing in the jersey flag grand final against the South Sydney Rabbitohs Jersey Flegg team, I believe. That is correct. So that's the other annoying thing about this game, is that it's on the same day as the Jersey Flegg grand final. So you've got a Junior Kiwis under-19 team taking on Australian schoolboys. Both teams could have a bunch of Jersey Flegg players. Jersey Flegg is under-20s. So what is the point of playing this game on grand final for not only Jersey Flegg, but also up in Queensland, where you've got the Hastings Daring Colts, which is the Queensland Jersey Flegg? For whatever reason, the geniuses involved decided to schedule this under-19 Junior Kiwis versus Australian schoolboys that involves a bunch of under-20s players on the same day as the Queensland and New South Wales under-20s grand finals. Doesn't make a whole lot of sense. And that is why Matthew Tomoko is not in this Junior Kiwis team. He was initially named in that last squad, but then the Raiders went through and he was withdrawn. Whereas someone like Christian Tuipulotu was not named in the final Junior Kiwis squad, but he has been added. So he was playing for the Roosters Jersey Flegg. I think they lost to the Raiders in the semi-final, and with Christian Tuipulotu not playing the Jersey Flegg grand final, he was eventually added to the Junior Kiwis team. So you had Matthew Tomoko coming out, you had Spencer Leniu coming out, and then Christian Tuipulotu added in. None of those were announced. There was just a different list of players. Another notable player for the Roosters Jersey Flegg team is Bailey Bentley Harpe, who is from Northland, I believe. He's a wing fullback with the Roosters Jersey Flegg team, who was named in the wider squad for this game, the wider Junior Kiwi squad, but hasn't made the final cut, which was a little bit interesting. But there's plenty of outside backs depth. Like the deepest position or deepest group in this Junior Kiwis team is outside backs. There's some gun outside backs in this team. Then you also had Charbel Tassapali, who was not named in the wider squad, and he was not named in the initial Junior Kiwi squad, and then suddenly he appears in the final Junior Kiwi squad. Just so weird. Like, why can't you just name these dudes and then just have them there? Like, I don't understand all the logistical mayhem that's going on with this Junior Kiwis team. But yeah, Charbel Tassapali, who plays for the Parramatta Eels, he's an edge forward. He is now in the Junior Kiwis squad. So yeah, it's all just very weird. And I think there's a guy, Daniel Ticehurst, who was not named in the wider squad, and then he was named in the eventual Junior Kiwis squad, and then the final squad that has been announced as well. He is from Wellington, so everyone else I kind of recognize the names, except for Etu Lui with the Parramatta Eels, who I had to do a bit of research about. I think he went to King's College in Auckland. He's from Auckland in terms of his rugby league background. And then Tassapali and Daniel Ticehurst. Daniel Ticehurst, I don't know much about Tassapali off the top of my head. I have to prepare that for tomorrow, but I do know Ticehurst. Daniel Ticehurst, he's from Wellington. I think he went to Aotea College in Wellington, and then he went across to Ipswich State Grammar, played some rugby league there, and then he's joined the Newcastle Knights from there. So this is the final Junior Kiwis squad. KL Aru, Temple Kalepo, Asu Kepaoa, Etu Lui, Christian Ma'a Naima, Sione Moala, Griffin Niame, Junior Pua, Celestino Ravutamada, Jordan Ricky, Tyler Slade, Charbel Tassapali, Vito Tavanga, Daniel Ticehurst, Stafford Toa, Emmanuel Tuamavave Gerard, Christian Tuipulotu, Paul Turner, and Isaiah Wagner. Just a couple of interesting notes here. I researched Matthew Tomoko, and what came up was the Auckland Rugby Blues Camp, or Auckland Rugby Schoolboys Camp, under 18 schools camp. This featured Matthew Tomoko, who was playing for Auckland Grammar. It also featured Caleb Milne, who went to St. Kentigern College, then he joined the Melbourne Storm, now he's with the Cronulla Sharks. So that's two players that I know definitely are playing rugby league now. Harley Maynard has been playing for the Warriors Jersey flag team, so that's three. And then Christian Tuipulotu from St. Paul's College also made that team. So there might be more, I just don't recognise the names, but that just shows you the crossover and the cross-code flexibility that these players have. 4 players from the under-18 Blues camp in 2017, I think it was, are now involved in rugby league and aligned with rugby league clubs. And Tomoko, Tuipulotu in the Junior Kiwis squad. Caleb Milne probably would have been if he was still under 20s, I believe. So interesting things there. Sione Moala, it's amazing for Sione Moala. He is still very young. I think he's still under 18s, and he's had a great season with the Warriors Jersey flag team. He's a half from Manurewa, I think, and he is named in the Junior Kiwis squad. Asu Kepaoa has been playing reserve grade all season long for the North Sydney Bears, who are aligned to the Sydney Roosters. He's a gun to watch out for. And there's this outside back group. You're going to have Christian Tuipulotu, who's going to be playing centre. Stafford Toa made his NRL debut. He's in this team. Asu Kepaoa, very good outside back as well. What else do we have here? And then you got guys like Kale Iroh's doing a good job for the Warriors at centre. Griffin Niami is an interesting guy. He is from Greymouth and has been signed by the North Queensland Cowboys. He's been playing for Townsville Blackhawks under 20s. He is signed to the Cowboys. Jordan Ricky is the only player in this current Junior Kiwis team who was in the under 20 Junior Kiwis last year. So that shows you the quality of Jordan Ricky. He is from Christchurch. He is signed to the Brisbane Broncos, and he's a back-to-back Junior Kiwis, even though the age restrictions have changed. Interesting, eh? Interesting. Yeah, so I will write about that team in greater depth either Friday or Saturday, so do check that out, because there is some handy information in that just to familiarise yourself with the team and with the players and who's representing Aotearoa at the under 19 level, which is pretty cool. I like that stuff. I kind of enjoy that stuff as much as the NRL antics, like just providing the background information on these players who are chasing their dreams. They're chasing their dreams with NRL clubs, and just telling their story, I think, is also pretty cool. I'll quickly roll through NRL women's footy, where for the Warriors specifically, things are pretty weird. It feels a bit deja vu-ish, because last season the Warriors women's team won their first game. Very impressive effort against the Roosters. They had some travel difficulties, but they still managed to get the win against the Roosters, and then they fizzled. I think they lost their next 2 games and didn't make the finals. This year, they defeated the Roosters, and then they had a shocker against the Dragons, and there are some huge issues. Like, this is ridiculous. This is a NRL women's game, and you have a half. Like, mad respect to Maima Ravisa. She's the Fijian 7-star who has come across to, say star, I don't really know anything about Sevens rugby, but she's the Fijian Sevens player who came across to join the Warriors and play rugby league, and I have empathy for her. Like, she's learning rugby league at the highest level, but the Warriors simply cannot expect to win a game of NRL women's footy when one half touches the ball once. Against the Dragons, Shante Poko had 26 touches. Tamaima Ravisa had 1 touch of the footy. And obviously she wasn't going to do any kicking. Shante Poko did the most of the kicking. Now the first game against the Roosters, Shante Poko had 33 touches and Tamaima Ravisa only had 9 touches. That went to a ridiculous level last weekend. Ravisa had just 1 touch. And she also had round 1 against the Roosters. Ravisa had 77% tackle efficiency. Then she had 76% tackle efficiency against the Dragons. So Ravisa touched the ball once. She had more missed tackles than she had touches of the footy. Again, empathy. I feel for Ravisa. I'm empathetic to her journey, but I just don't understand how anyone in the Warriors expects or hopes to win games when that is the situation. It's just absolutely craziness. The Warriors are playing the Broncos this week as well, and the Broncos are the only unbeaten team in NRL women's footy this year, after winning it last year. Completely changed their squad, but they're undefeated, which is just tells you what you need to know about the challenge facing the Warriors women's this week. And if they lose this game, you might as well just have pressed rewind and play from NRL women's last year. Like, they've just repeated the same thing. And I think that's going to be the case because the Broncos are good and the Warriors weren't so good against the Dragons. Also very strange from the Warriors has been Angelina Leotawa. Now, Angelina Leotawa, this is the 3rd week in a row where she has been named on an extended bench. So that means Angelina Leotawa has been named outside the top 17. The first 2 games she played those. So she was a late call to the top 17. Round 1 against the Roosters, she was the only Warriors forward to average 10 metres per run, and then with 7 tackle busts. And then the second game against the Dragons, she had 6 tackle busts, and she was selected in the NRL Women's Team of the Week. So that means, to the best of my judgment, Angelina Leotawa has been the best Warriors forward for 2 weeks in a row. And both of those weeks, she was initially named on the extended bench. Now, again, for the 3rd week in a row, she is named on the extended bench, and you have to select her if she's been the best forward for the Warriors 2 weeks in a row. But what's the point of naming her on the extended bench? None of that makes any sense at all, but this is the Warriors that we are dealing with. Not a whole lot makes sense for the Warriors. So they'll probably lose to the Broncos. I can see that happening. And then Dragons versus Roosters. The Dragons feel like the better team. They lost their first game against the Broncos, I think it was. Then they defeated the Warriors. Now they're coming up against the Roosters, who I think have not won a game just yet. And the Dragons are looking good. The interesting thing about the Dragons is Batil the Vet Welsh, who I've talked about a fair amount on the Nishcast. She's from Taipa in the north of the North Island, Northland. And she's got an important decision to make, whether she wants to play for Australia or wants to play Kiwi Ferns. She wasn't named on a Jillaroos merit team, but she hasn't fully represented Australia just yet in rugby league. So hopefully she does want to play for Aotearoa. She does catch the Kiwi vibes, but all good if not. But she has been named at fullback for the Team of the Week 2 times in a row. Back-to-back weeks for Batil Vet Welsh. And she is someone to keep an eye on as we approach her decision, whether she wants to play for the Jillaroos or the Kiwi Ferns. Team of the Week for round 2, Batil Vet Welsh at fullback. You had Maitua Fetarika starting at prop. You had Angelina Leotawa starting on an edge for the team of the week. And Georgia Hale was in there as well. Lavinia Gould, she is starting at hooker for the team of the week. And then you've got Nita Maynard, you've got Amber Hall, and you've got Billie Jean Ale on the bench. So that is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 8 players with Kiwi connections in NRL Women's Team of the Week round 2. 17 players are named, and 8 of them are from Aotearoa. Plain and simple. Which is pretty damn impressive. Batil Vetia Welsh, that was her second week in a row. Lavinia Gould, that was her second week in a row. Georgia Hale, second week. And Amber Hall, second week for her as well. So, NRL Women's Footy this weekend. We have round 3. We have the Warriors taking on the Broncos. Broncos should win that. Amber Hall's been fantastic. In the middle for the Broncos, watch out for Racine McGregor in the halves as well. Dragons versus Roosters. Dragons should win that, and the work of Ngā Tokatoru Arakua and Maitua Fetarika through the middle could be just blockbuster. They could just blow away the Roosters, and that's what you got to watch this weekend for NRL Women's Footy. As for NRL Men's Footy, we have the Raiders taking on the Rabbitohs. So if you're a Kiwi NRL fan, if you're from Aotearoa, you should be all aboard the Raiders bandwagon. They've got a massive English contingent, but they've also got a massive Kiwi NRL contingent. You got Shans Nickel-Clockstead starting at fullback, Jordan Rapana from Wellington on the wing, Iosia Soliola, the veteran, he is in the middle. Joseph Tapine starting in the middle as well, and then Bailey Simonson, the former New Zealand Sevens player who was actually born and raised in Australia. Another one who could have an interesting decision to make whether he goes Australia or Aotearoa. Obviously, he's a wee way from it. Like, he's still trying to settle in as a starting winger for the Canberra Raiders, but he looks pretty dynamic. He breaks tackles. He's a good finisher, just an all-round good footy player. Does have a strong connection to Aotearoa. His father was an All Black, and he has played for New Zealand Sevens as well. Mawene Hiroti is on the extended bench for the Rabbitohs, and Raiders also have Saliva Havili on their extended bench as well. We just need to take time to remember that Bailey Simonson joined the Raiders in late December. He joined the Raiders in late December on a train and trial contract. And also Shans Nickel-Clockstead, he joined the Raiders in early February. So those are 2 summer signings who have had huge under-the-radar contributions to the Raiders' success this season. Obviously, Shans Nickel-Clockstead, like, everyone knows what he's been up to. But not everyone knows that he joined the Raiders in early February, like a couple weeks out from the NRL season starting. That's your fullback. That's your fullback who has had a massive impact and helped the Raiders get to a semi-final. Bailey Simonson, like, no one knew who he was. He had been with the Raiders in like under 16s and under 18s or something like that, and then he went back to the Raiders after playing for New Zealand Sevens, but he only joined on a train and trial contract. So let's just, light one up, spark one up for those two. And also the shrewd recruitment from the Raiders, because they picked those 2 players up over the summer, and they have contributed to the Raiders' success, which is extremely impressive. There's also, I just want a quick word on Iosia Soliola, because he only played 19 minutes in the win over the Storm. And that came with Josh Papali'i coming off the bench. Now, Josh Papali'i has been named to start this week alongside Soliola. Who knows whether he is going to start or if he will come off the bench. Either way, Papali'i is fantastic. But Soliola averages 37.9 minutes per game. And in the win over the Storm, he only played 19 minutes per game in that game. Sure, there might have been an injury or a situation we aren't aware of, but I'm expecting a very impactful performance from Soliola in this game against the Rabbitohs. He will play more than 19 minutes and he will rack up some solid numbers, because you look at this Raiders forward pack, like there's going to be attention on Papali'i. Joseph Tapine can be very dynamic, and he's a player who could shine in the same light as Soliola, given the attention that will be directed towards Josh Papali'i. Even Josh Hodgson, like if you're zoning in and focusing in on the impact and influence of Josh Hodgson at hooker, that's going to leave a bit of space around the ruck for those big boppers running forward, and that could help Soliola, it could help Joseph Tapine, because the markers, the A defenders, are going to be lured in and focused on what Hodgson is doing. At the same time, you have to drift out and you have to pay close attention. Like all the hype, all the focus is going to be on John Bateman and Elliot Whitehead because of their skill, because of their mobility out on the edges. And I just have a sneaky feeling that this could help Soliola and Joseph Tapine. So with the Raiders, cheer Shans Nickel Clocksland, shout out to Jordan Rapana, those dudes are good, but watch out for and keep a close eye on Soliola's involvement and the impact he can have, because when Soliola's on form, he's like the spiritual leader of the Raiders. He is the dude who comes out with this freaky energy and aggression. And then also Joseph Tapine. Joseph Tapine has been a bit quiet this season, and especially against that Rabbitohs forward pack, I just want to see what Soliola and Joseph Tapine can do. That's Friday night, and then Saturday night we have the Roosters versus Storm, which is absolutely lunacy. This is crazy. I mean, you've got Isaac Liu and Siasuia Tokiaho taking on Jesse Bromwich and Nelson Asafa-Solomona. Those are your starting props. All four starting props in this game are Kiwi NRL forwards. Isaac Liu, Otahu Leopards Jr., Siasuia Tokiaho, Otara Scorpions Jr., Jesse Bromwich, Manurewa Marlins Jr., and Nelson Asafa-Solomona. He's from Wellington. I believe he was with Hutt Tigers or Upper Hutt Tigers or something like that. Excuse me, apologies. But all four of those lads are Kiwi NRL forwards, which is huge, absolutely monumental, and I can't wait to see those dudes in action. Tokiaho versus the Rabbitohs finals week 1. He had 15 runs for 156 metres, which is over 10 metres per run. In the same game, Isaac Liu had 11 runs for 129 metres, averaging 11.72 metres per run. Tokiaho is going to be the dude to step up in Jared Waidea-Hargraves' place. He's going to be the dude who leads much of the go forward in the middle. He's going to very mobile, very dynamic, got mobility like an outside back, but the power of Jason Taumalolo. Like he is Jason Taumalolo to a certain extent. But Isaac Liu is an interesting player to watch for the Roosters, because very late footwork at the line. He's no nonsense. He just gets on, does his job, does a great job of doing his job. And if Isaac Liu and Tokiaho can average 10 metres per run or better, that level of efficiency is going to be crucial for the Roosters, because the thing about the Roosters is just the speed and tempo that they can play with, thanks to the efficiency of their forwards. If their forwards are making consistently 9, 10, 11, 12 metres per run, that means quick play the balls, and that means that James Tedesco, Cooper Cronk, Luke Keary can have a huge influence on the game, not only with Tedesco working around the ruck area, but that enables you to spread it wide. The reason Latrell Mitchell and Joseph Manu can have a huge level of effectiveness out at centre is because they're always working with quick play the balls, they're always working with a certain tempo through the middle, and if they're not ploughing through the middle via James Tedesco or Luke Carey, they just give early ball out wide. And then you've got early ball, defensive line isn't rushing up because they're just backing up from a quick play the ball. Latrell Mitchell and Joseph Manu come into the game. So if Taukei'aho and Isaac Liu are playing with a certain level of efficiency and offering that tempo for the Roosters, it's going to be a very difficult proposition for the Storm to stop. However, the Storm are very good at slowing opposition ball down. Not just in terms of like the wrestle, but their tackling and defensive prowess enables them to do so. So it's more like Jesse Bromwich and Nelson Asofa-Solomona, even someone like Kenny Bromwich, who's played a lot of big games with the Storm. These dudes know how to be effective with the ball in big games. That's like a prerequisite. But what I'm interested here is how Jesse Bromwich and Nelson Asofa-Solomona and Dale Finucane and those type of characters, how they go about defensively stopping Taukei'aho and Isaac Liu and the Roosters generally. Like I think one of the things that makes Jesse Bromwich one of the best props in the world is something that can't be measured, and that is how you tackle. How strong you are in just holding up a player, then wrestling him to his back, and then just winning the play the ball. Slowing down the footy. You can't measure that. You can't say Jesse Bromwich does this and that, and we can tell he does this and that because we can see by this and that number that he's doing a good job of this. I can tell you that Bromwich is efficient running the footy. I can tell you that Nelson Asofa-Solomona has scored 3 tries in his last 4 games. I can tell you how efficient and effective Isaac Liu and Siosua Taukei'aho are, but there's nothing to measure defensive skill. And I think the reason Jesse Bromwich has enjoyed such a long career with the Melbourne Storm, here's a little tidbit for you. Jesse Bromwich has played at least 20 games in each of the last 9 seasons for the best team in the NRL across that period, Melbourne Storm. That tells you all you need to know about the quality of Jesse Bromwich. One of the reasons I think he can have that level of consistency with the Melbourne Storm is because the Melbourne Storm they understand, they realise, they appreciate his defensive skill. Not necessarily in missed tackles. Like, again, you can't measure it. So it's not tackle efficiency. It's not the amount of missed tackles you have. It's what you're doing in the tackle to slow the other team down and to dominate that tackle. That's where I'm going to be watching. I'm going to be watching Jesse Bromwich tackle. I'm going to be watching how effective Nelson Asofa-Solomona is tackling as well, because that's a skill that he has to work on. But the presence of Dale Finucane helps because he's a fantastic defender, and that just comes together in a package of how the Melbourne Storm are going to slow down the Roosters. If the Melbourne Storm can slow down the Roosters through the middle enough, I think the Melbourne Storm can win that game. But if the Roosters can assert their dominance through the middle, they just have too much strike power up the guts and out wide on the back of quick play the balls. No matter how good you are defensively, trying to stop Joseph Manu on one edge, Latrell Mitchell on the other edge, you got Boy Courtner running short, you got Cooper Cronk pulling strings, Luke Carey running the footy, James Tedesco just hovering around everything. Kinda unstoppable. Lastly, the Storm also have Jerome Hughes in the halves. Obviously, Roosters have Joseph Manu. Out at centre, they also have Zane Teravanu coming off the bench. Brandon Smith. We'll finish with this. Brandon Smith, this season, he averages 42 minutes. And all of those minutes, well, most of them, there might have been a few garbage minutes, but most of those minutes have come with Brandon Smith playing as a middle forward. So just take that in. Brandon Smith, little Brandon Smith, the Kiwis hooker, is averaging 42 minutes per game, primarily as a middle forward this season. However, what we've seen over the second half of the season is Brandon Smith's workload has increased considerably. So between rounds 1 and 15, basically the first half of the season, Brandon Smith played 13 games and he played less than 50 minutes in all 13 of those games. So across the first half of the season, Brandon Smith played less than 50 minutes in every single game he played. After round 15, Smith has played 9 games, and in 5 of those games, he's played more than 50 minutes. And in all 9 of those games, he's played at least 40 minutes. So the second half of the season, Brandon Smith has had a massive jump in minutes. Less than 50 minutes all first half of the season. Second half of the season, baseline minimum 40 minutes, and in 5 of those 9 games he's played over 50 minutes. That is a huge vote of confidence from Craig Bellamy in Brandon Smith as a middle forward. I am interested to see how that workload impacts the efficiency and effectiveness of Brandon Smith running the footy. I just have this idea that, when your workload goes up, something usually has to be sacrificed. And what I've seen of Brandon Smith in recent weeks, not the whole 9-game second half of the season period, but just recent weeks, a bit of the zip, a bit of the oomph that he offers running the footy hasn't quite been there. But I'm sure he'll bring it in a must-win semi-final game of footy, and that means, along with how the Melbourne Storm slow down the Roosters through the middle, also keeping a close eye on Brandon Smith and the impact he offers coming off the bench. Because the trend, the pattern here, is that Brandon Smith is going to play at least 40 minutes in the middle of the field. And if Brandon Smith's playing 40 minutes in the middle of the field, you're going to get good defense from him because he rips in, he's going to try on every play, he's got a fantastic attitude, great effort, and if you're playing for the Melbourne Storm, you're going to be good at tackling, you've got defensive skills, as I said with Jesse Bromwich. But the thing about Brandon Smith is what he offers running the footy on top of that. And if Brandon Smith's playing 40 minutes and he's also taking 10 runs for 100 meters, that is amazing value for Brandon Smith. But if Brandon Smith is playing at least 40 minutes and he has 8 runs for 65 meters, not so much value. And for the Storm, that could be the difference between winning and losing this game. One of the reasons. One of the factors. So, a little recap here. We'll go back up to the Raiders and Rabbitohs. Raiders, I'm interested in the involvement of Soliola and Joseph Tapine. Their minutes, their effectiveness, their efficiency, and a certain level of mongrel that they bring to counter the Rabbitohs through the middle. And if you're a Kiwi NRL fan, jump on board the Canberra Raiders bandwagon. Roosters versus Storm, key point here, how the Storm slow down the Roosters through the middle. Mainly what is Jesse Bromwich doing defensively? And in conjunction with Asafa Solomona and Dale Finucane, can they slow down the likes of Isaac Liu and Siasoa Tokiaho? And then, how many minutes and how effective is Brandon Smith coming off the bench? My picks are the Raiders and the Storm. I think it's going to be a Storm Raiders grand final. And other than that, we'll catch you next week after these games and after the Junior Kiwis. The Junior Kiwis play their game on Sunday afternoon. I think it's going to be broadcasted on Sky Sports here in Aotearoa, so there'll be an interesting little game to have a look at. If I was to pick one player who you need to watch out for in that Junior Kiwis under-19 team, Stafford Toa's the easy one because he's played NRL footy, but I'm going to say Asu Kepaoa, signed to the Sydney Roosters, probably going to play on the wing, could play at centre for the Junior Kiwis, and I'm also going to say Sione Moala, the young half. I don't know if Moala's going to play because he is the very young half. I think they've named a squad of 19, so a couple of players will miss out. But if Sione Moala does play, watch out for him because he's a very skillful young half with like a certain level of maturity and class above his age. So thank you for listening. Shout out to you wherever you are listening to this from, whether you're in Aotearoa, the beautiful Jātearoa, or around the world and you just love your rugby league footy. Thank you. Thank you for supporting the Niche Case and the Niche Cast. We are on Patreon, so if you are feeling super generous, jump on there. Otherwise, just having you here to talk rugby league matters is beautiful enough. And if you do have any opinions, drop them in the comments and we'll see what happens this weekend. NRL finals, NRL women's footy, and Junior Kiwis playing Australian schoolboys. Stay beautiful, kia kaha.